Democracy is definitely in action at the moment. I have over 220 questions that you have put forward. So strap in, guys. I promise we're not going to go through all of them, but it's giving me a really strong guide of the sorts of questions that are coming up for you as you've been hearing from our panellists this evening. So thank you very much for your contributions thus far. I'm going to start with a question focused on one of the hottest topics that is coming up a lot, and we knew this would be a hot topic tonight, and that is a question about the Adani Coal Mine. The Greens have stated publicly that you oppose the mine. The ALP have said that they do not support public money going to the Adani Coal Mine. However, the party has consistently failed to stop the mine from going ahead and has not declared that they will stop that mine from going ahead if elected. And Jana, your colleagues in Queensland have also consistently backed the proposal with approvals. The Morrison government is an active supporter of the proposed coal mine, having granted every approval that has come before them for the mine, and just this week provided a crucial groundwater management approval for the plan. Our independents, we haven't heard necessarily from each of you on this proposal. Can you please state for the audience whether you personally support the proposed Adani Coal Mine, how you would work to stop it from going ahead if you do not support it, and if you do not oppose the mine, on what grounds? And we'd like to hear from every member of the panel.
Unlike other political parties, we're allowed to talk about, and what we have said is that it needs to go through the rigorous approval processes, and the major approvals have already been given, both by federal and state governments. There was 180 conditions attached. The water approval was given. There's still 9 approvals still to go. And the most fundamental ones will be with the Queensland government. This has been subject to more conditions and more scrutiny than any other mine. It's about half the size of what was previously put forward. But Australia has a major resource sector. We have both coal, iron ore, and other resources. And subject to the approvals being given based on the law, and in this case on the water issue, we took the advice of the CSIRO, of Geosciences Australia, and that is why it's gone to the next stage.
Well, as I said earlier, the coal industry is in decline. Okay, so we really need to take the view that the Adani mine is really not a good idea. I would like to sort of say, you know, it'd be easy to stop if it went ahead. Obviously, it would be very, very difficult, but I would definitely do everything possible to stop if it started. I agree with the IMF, major organisations. At this point in time, the coal is better left in the ground. And I'm just hopeful that things like the forward contracts that we're seeing around the world, 30 years in the future, have some industries that are really suffering in the future. They're related to coal, but also those already in the coal industry. So I'd like to stop it if it goes ahead.
Yep, thank you. This project totally lacks any form of social licence anymore. For a government that represents its people, and for a member who represents this audience to be continuing to support a project that its electors in this area do not support, is an extraordinary position for a local member to take. They're meant to represent you. I don't believe Kooyong wants this mine to proceed. The government has the power. It has the power to block this mine. There is no significant sovereign risk involved in this. The situation and the circumstances and the climate emergency that we face has changed from when this mine started its approval, and all of these approvals should be reassessed, taking into consideration our current climate situation.
The Adani mine is a really interesting test. The fact is that if you cannot control coal, you cannot control climate change. Coal is the biggest cause of climate change we know. Any government that is willing to support the creation of a new mine, a new coal mine, is plainly not serious about controlling climate change. And I don't know whether donations from fossil fuel have any effect on the grant of permission, but the Labor Party is going to have a test too, because the Queensland Labor Party is in a position to either grant or withhold the final approvals necessary for the mine to go ahead. It is very striking that the Adani mine was approved by the federal Liberal government just 2 days ago, and just the day before that, one of Josh's colleagues said voters in Kooyong aren't going to sacrifice their franking credits for a mine in Queensland. Ultimately, rich people vote for money. That is a mark of the contempt with which the Liberal Party see this electorate of Kooyong, which has been held by Tories since Federation, and they can't even imagine the possibility that this electorate would turf out the present Treasurer of the country.
So, just begin by saying that, like a lot of people in this room, I personally don't agree with Adani. I think it's important to have that on the record. And I think Labor's approach to the Adani mine has been a balanced one. Because I think there's been quite a few shadow ministers for Labor who have been on the record as saying they don't agree with, they don't think it stacks up economically, they don't think it's in national interest for this to proceed. And I'm on their side of the Adani conversation there. And so for us, it's also important not to jump the gun here. And we need to make sure that, we're not in government, so we actually can't, do the things that, our colleague down the end here can. And we don't want to prejudge any particular outcome, because that could mean that it goes ahead anyway. And I think that's the outcome that everybody in this room can agree that we don't want. So we need to have a more balanced and measured approach to how we do it. Like I said, I don't personally agree with it, but I agree that we need to actually have a bit more of a considered and measured approach to it and actually follow the law, and that's what we're committed to doing.
Let me reinforce why I'm standing as an independent. Mr. Thodey, who's the head of CSIRO, Josh, I don't know whether you heard his Manning Clark lecture this week. It's been on 2 or 3 times. I don't think he would agree with your logic about Adani. But the sleeper is not just Adani. There are, 8 or 9 coal mines proposed for the Galilee Basin. And in a sense, it's unfortunate that poor Mr. Adani is taking all the flack. But what about Gina Reinhardt and all of the others who are ready to go in that basin area? Secondly, you're not allowed to use words here on Facebook, are we? No, right. We have been fed a load of misinformation on Adani, and Josh, you know that. And that's unfortunate. I find it difficult because my issue is not with you personally, but how can you simply halve a project and then still not demand another environmental effects approach to it? That's the field I work in. Any other company I know who halved their project would have to start from scratch and do it again. Now, you talk about balance. I'm not a good dancer, but this is Labor jumping from one foot to another about Adani, and they keep doing it all of the time. And so I have no confidence that Labor will be able to work it out either. Talk about sovereign risk. The example which affected people here, the State Liberal Party secretly and dishonestly signed a letter just before the election on the East-West link, and it cost everyone in this place here $1 billion. Thank you very much. So the idea that we get put off by sovereign bluff is just not on the cards for me.
Thank you.